Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
All right, welcome everybody to another edition of Tider Insider Television here on WVUA 23. Across the studio from Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris as we continue to work at a safe social distance during this pandemic, and we're ready to have a jam-packed show for you. The Crimson Tide had its second full scrimmage this past Saturday. Offense and defense warming up together. Even Nick Saban was getting his work in. How about that, Rodney?
That's pretty good. He's been doing Pilates.
Yeah, man, he's flexible. He stretches with the team. Some defensive action. Stephon Wynn and Jamel Burrows working through head-to-head. There's Tim Smith and Deontay Brown, Landon Dickerson and DJ Dale. Pass work from Mac Jones, and always the kickers are a focus of attention at Alabama. There's Joseph Bulovas and Will Reichard, too, as they compete for that starting place-kicking position. Rodney, let's discuss your thoughts from this last full scrimmage. This fall camp ending. They're getting into their game week practices with the game a week from Saturday. You had some notes on TiderInsider.com in regards to what you've heard and been able to find out. What are some things that you took away from that scrimmage?
Well, I think one thing, Gary, when you look offensively, it's the development of the quarterbacks. Mac Jones continues to progress, and we know he got a lot of valuable experience last year at the end of the year and performed really well in those opportunities. But we understand he's really taken a big step over the last 10 days or so, and has, certainly in this scrimmage stood out. Bryce Young had a good day as well. The offensive line, we've talked about them, how good we think they're going to be, and they continue to play well in the scrimmages and practices. So offensively, I think everything really is pretty much at a high level right now, given where we are. Defensively, a lot of really good young players that they continue to develop, Gary. And I know a lot of Alabama fans, when you start talking about this team, they want to know, is the defense going to be better this year? Look, I really think they're going to be, and I think we continue to hear progress from a lot of young players.
Let's go back to the offense. A couple of positions I want to ask you about. Obviously, with Waddle and Devontae Smith, you got two of the best wide receivers in the country. A battle for that third wide receiver position. Is John Mechie the guy that's made the move there, in your opinion?
I think based on what we hear, John Mechie certainly had a great, if you want to call it camp, he's had a great camp. I think he certainly put himself in a good position to be that third guy, Gary. But I know Nick Saban has expressed that he really likes the way the depth is kind of coming around at that spot. You're talking about Slade Bolden's a guy that's probably going to play some on the inside at slot. Javon Baker's a true freshman. Other young players, Xavier Williams is still here, again, just a rising sophomore. Some other freshmen, Tyu Jones-Bell, Trayshawn Holden. So certainly they've got a lot of young players to choose from, and guys that it sounds like are making good progress.
On that offensive line, there are a couple different combinations with Landon Dickerson. One is with him playing guard. The other is with him playing center. How do you think that will finish up?
Well, I mean, it sounds right now of me, just reading the tea leaves, it certainly looks like Landon Dickerson may start out at least at center. He started, 10 games there last year after Chris Owens had started 3 or so early on. And it sounds like, and again, nothing certainly official, but it sounds like that Landon at center with possibly Emil Ekiyor at right guard. And Coach Saban did say following the scrimmage, Gary, that as other players develop, that you could see Landon possibly move over to guard. Now, when he's referring to other players, one player that we've talked about a lot in terms of his potential as a center is Darian Dalcourt, the rising sophomore, who we think has a ton of potential. So we'll see what happens there as the season kind of goes along.
And on defense, I want to ask you about Will Anderson, the outside freshman pass rushing specialist who has turned a lot of heads, we're told.
Yeah, well, certainly, Gary, I would think that if you talk about the rave of camp in terms of, a guy getting a lot of buzz, people talking about him, all the media certainly have put things out on him. And, I think Will Anderson, that outside linebacker spot, the true freshman, is a guy that a lot of people think is going to have some wow moments very early this season with his ability to rush the passer.
And versatility is going to be more important this season, Rodney, maybe than ever before, with the unknowns that are going to occur going through the season with a COVID pandemic. Jalen Waddle says that versatility is something every team's going to have, and it's something Alabama has been working on for a while.
We don't try to learn like a certain position. We try to learn the concept. So you're not just out there because you don't really know where you're going to be based on the concept. So you got to learn every concept, and we try to learn that way. We still in the camp mode, so it feel like camp. Camp gonna feel like camp. So we still in the camp mode. So that's what it feels like to me. But it is different watching other teams and other colleges play and not being able to play. Yeah,
Alabama's itching. The good news is that they are starting now to really focus on the upcoming game against Missouri. This Saturday will be the final non-game week until the bye. Overall, Rodney, in terms of progress of this football team, where do you think it's at? And what do you think the potential of this team is in 2020?
Well, I just think it's such an unusual year, Gary. I mean, you're talking about mid-March when spring practice was supposed to start, and it was canceled before it ever got off the ground. Really an unusual year, and I think this is where Nick Saban's at his best, really. I think the way he's managed talking to some people, the way he's managed this team through the period that we've gone through over the last 6 months or so, this team has really been focused. They've really not drifted off much. So I think that's the real key. And you and I have talked about this many times, that the team that's probably the best managed and the most focused is going to be the one that have the most success. And I really feel confident about this team. Not only are they really talented, but I think they're really focused.
I do too. Well, it's time now for Coach Talk. The Tide had its second scrimmage this past weekend, and Coach Saban was able to see the improvement that he was hoping for from this team in just a matter of a few weeks.
All right, well, today was, our second scrimmage. I think what you want to see is a lot of improvement from the first scrimmage to the second scrimmage, which means that some of the things that you've done in practice have been very effective in helping your players improve. And I think that we certainly did that. I also think that we wanted to make things very game-like today. So even though last week's Saturday practice was sort of game situations, it really was still not a scrimmage.
All right, Rodney, just a quick wrap-up on that, and we're going to move on. You know that this week, and obviously next week's game week, but they're really starting now to focus in on playing an opponent rather than they want to get guys ready to play, but now it's time to start focusing on getting ready to play a game.
Yeah, it is. Different mindset. Certainly, I know they'll be shifting into that gear, but also, Gary, think about this. Missouri's got a new coach, new system on both sides of the ball, and not only that, they have some players that may be out. So really, there's a lot of uncertainty as you kind of go into this game.
All right, Alabama's Director of Athletics, Greg Byrne, released photos of what stadium seating at Bryant-Denny will look like for the 2020 season. Individual chairbacks were installed throughout the bleachers to indicate where fans will be able to sit. Fans will be expected to cooperate with social distancing protocols and wear a mask throughout the duration of the football game. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, plenty of Tide pride at this weekend's U.S. Open Golf Championship that's coming up. More on that next. We've told you about football, but what about the other fall sports? We'll have schedule releases on those coming up. And, of course, we'll be getting to your phone calls, emails, and tweets. There's the phone number, as always, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. You see the email address as well, TITV@WVUA23.com, or you could tweet at us. Use the hashtag TITV so we can find it. We'll be right back with the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider Television. Keep an eye out for these former Crimson Tiders this week at golf's United States Open at famed Wingfoot, just outside New York City. Justin Thomas, Michael Thompson, Lee Hodges, and Davis Riley are in the field. Hodges and Riley currently play on the Korn Ferry Tour and qualified for this week's major. Hopefully they'll be around for the weekend. They make the cut by ranking in the top 5 Korn Ferry Tour point standings. Good luck to all the former Bama competitors. And welcome back to Crimson Tide Television here on TITV. I'm Gary Harris, sitting across the studio from TiderInsider.com's Rodney Orr. Alabama, for the most part, has wrapped up preseason camp, and it feels like most of the starting positions are kind of set going into the first game. We don't have a depth chart yet. The only decisions that really remain up for grabs, for the most part, appear along the offensive line. Last season, Evan Neal started at left guard as a true freshman. He's firmly in the rotation again, but this year it looks like he'll be at right tackle. He says the transition for him has been a smooth one.
So far, the transition's been treating me well. In high school, tackle was my natural position, so I feel like it just made the transition go much more smoother for me. I have more work that needs to be done. I can get better, but all in all, I can say that the transition's been going pretty smooth for me. I've been pleased with my performance so far.
All right, Rodney, we've talked about versatility. The offensive line, I always talk about it being like a hand in a glove. 5 guys all on the same page. One guy misses a call or doesn't get something right, it could blow up the play. So you want continuity there, but at the same time, as we've discussed, you want versatility. You want different combinations in case, there's a guy who's not available to play that week, and Evan Neal certainly gives you that.
Yeah, he does, Gary. You're talking about a guy that came in at 6'7", 360 pounds. I mean, extremely athletic. No question about that. He came in, played left guard last year again, like he kind of detailed there. It really wasn't his natural position. Some people think naturally he might be better at left tackle, but going over to that right tackle certainly should be very outstanding there as well. But I think when you look at this offensive line, Gary, and we've talked about this repeatedly, I think it has a chance to be one of the better ones Alabama's had in a while, maybe up there with that 2012 group.
And that's saying something. A lot of potential, though. You're right. It's a big-time talented bunch up front on the O-line. Well, Alabama's volleyball program releases its fall schedule, highlighted by 8 matches combined against Missouri, Florida, Georgia, and LSU. Opening weekend is October 17th and 18th. All SEC teams have 4 conference opponents and play each other twice on the same weekend. All SEC volleyball teams will also have 2 bye weeks due to COVID-19. Fan attendance for home matches at Foster Auditorium will be limited to coaches and players, pass list only. Well, coming up on TITV, a key member of the Alabama softball team could be looking to leave the program. We'll have more on that next. And we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information on the screen right there. Interact with Tider Insider TV right now. Go ahead and give us a call or send us an email or contact us on social media. We'll be right back with TITV. Well, according to AL.com and the Out of the Box podcast, Alabama softball Skylar Wallace is entering the NCAA transfer portal. Wallace was an all-SEC freshman team selection, and last season she was hitting .387 before the season was cut short due to COVID-19. She's one of the best players on the team. She started at second base and shortstop during her year-plus part of the season at Alabama. Now, just because she's in the portal doesn't mean she's leaving, but she is reportedly put her name in the transfer portal. Have to find out more about that. All right, let's get right to the phone lines tonight here on TITV. Eric is with us here in Tuscaloosa. Hey, Eric, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Going great, man.
Hey, doing good. Hey, I had a comment, more of a question about the Hillcrest High School quarterback Ethan Crawford.
Right.
I've been hearing, I've seen a lot of them this year. He's got a big time buzz about him. I was his first coach when he was quarterback, and he's been doing it ever since. I'm just proud of him, man.
Well, Eric, you were his first coach. You know how talented he is. He's in the sophomore class. He is in the discussion, Rodney, I think it's safe to say, for the top sophomore quarterback in the country, which means he'll be in the discussion as a junior and as a senior, and he'll be recruited nationwide, already is. You're absolutely right, Eric. His talent is, I don't want to get the hype rolling too much, but it's off the charts. I mean, he's a special football player, and part of that incredible finish that Hillcrest had this past Friday night at Wetumpka on the lateral play to win the game, he scored the touchdown. But Rodney, he's got all the tools. He's a difference maker.
Yeah, I think when you look at him, he certainly does, Gary. Very, very athletic, can throw on the run. And he has a really strong arm. So, hey, listen, I think if he continues to progress, like you said, Gary, he'll be one of the top prospects, certainly in the state of Alabama and possibly in the country.
All right, another call. Email. We've got an email, Rodney. Let's get to an email here, and it is from Louise in Birmingham. Will Saban make Ballou and Rhea available to the media? Rodney, she's, of course, talking about the two new strength coaches, David Ballou and Dr. Matt Rhea. I doubt it. Louise, that's not been the policy here in the past. I know there's a lot of interest in these guys, and they do have a high profile on social media. They're putting out a lot of updates. But as far as being made available to reporters, I doubt it, at least anytime soon would be my guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, but I do agree with that, Gary. Certainly, if you want a good follow on Twitter, follow Dr. Matt Ray. He certainly puts out some interesting tweets.
All right, we're going to keep it moving. More phone calls coming up. Alabama soccer opens the season this Saturday, hosting the Tennessee Volunteers. The match is scheduled for 1 p.m. on the SEC Network. The 2020 schedule features 8 matches. Each team will play all 6 divisional opponents plus 2 games against cross-divisional teams. The 2020 SEC Championship will be played November 13th through the 22nd in Orange Beach, Alabama. Coming up on TITV, a former Alabama tennis player is creating a buzz on the professional circuit. More on that and more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, you see the phone number 205-348-9882. You can also email us, or as I said, tweet at us using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide and has been doing so for 20 years. Tider Insider Television will return after this timeout. This past weekend, former Tide tennis star Alexa Geraci teamed with Desiree Krawczyk to win the WTA Doubles Championship at the Istanbul Cup. Geraci here serving for the match. She and Krawczyk win 6-1, 6-3. It's her second career WTA doubles title. Way to go. All right, let's get right back to the phone lines. SB is with us here in Tuscaloosa this evening. Hey, SB, how are you? SB, you still there?
This CB.
Oh, well, they told me, I'm sorry, CB. They told me wrong. How you doing, buddy?
I'm kicking around. Look, we've been seeing some bad stuff in this pro football. You think our Alabama Crimson Tide football team is going to stand for the national anthem, the flag, or
all right,
kneel to the cross, or what do you think?
Well, it's not an issue. The way Alabama's pregame is set up, and it's been that way since I've been going to the games, the team does not come out of the tunnel until after the national anthem. So it's just the way it's set up. It's not going to be anything new. It's always been that way. So it's just not, a decision to be made. But we do appreciate the phone call. Anthem is played before the team comes out of the tunnel. All right, let's get to an email. And this is from Mary in Northport. Will there be a Wildcat package for Jalen Waddle? Rodney, listen, you got to get the ball in the guy's hands a lot because he is exciting. Whether or not there'll be a direct snap package for him, I doubt it. Then again, I don't think that's necessarily a terrible idea in certain situations.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea because, he's very exciting, Gary, but at the same time, yeah, I think you may see something maybe with Slade Bolden, though. I could see that. We saw that last year, and, you bring Waddle around on a sweep. We could certainly see that. And keep in mind this, too, Gary. Slade Bolden, very capable of throwing the football.
Yeah, think about this for just a quick second, Rodney. I'm going to expand on this. A team that could lose Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, Tua Tagovailoa, and still have most programs that would wipe you out of playmakers. But at Alabama, this team looks like it's loaded with playmakers too. That's incredible.
It really is, Gary. You got Waddle, Devontae Smith. You've got that running back room. It's called recruiting.
Yeah.
They've done a great job. Yeah,
do it every year. All right, let's get to one more email. And this is from Ryan in Centerville. What happened to Jerez Parks? Ryan, nothing. He's battling for playing time. They got a lot of those outside pass rusher types, Rodney, but he's still here, and he's still working to find a spot.
Yeah, he's still really basically a young player, Gary, when you consider he gray-shirted, red-shirted. So I think Jerez is only going to be technically a redshirt sophomore, so he still has some time.
Yeah, he does. They got a lot of good football players, as we're talking about. Sometimes you just have to be patient. Wait for your opportunity. All right, BT's on the phone with us here in T-Town. Hey, BT, what's up, my man?
I'm good, Gary. How about you?
Doing great.
My question is about the other sports we're going to be playing. Are they going to be playing?
Yes, sir. We fortunately enough, BT, we've talked about a couple of them tonight, but soccer's going to have a schedule. Volleyball's going to have a schedule. Cross country's going to have a schedule. Crew, rowing. Now, they're set up a little bit differently than normally, Rodney, but we're playing sports here at the University of Alabama, and it's going to start this Saturday with soccer, but football, volleyball, they're all coming. Again, it's going to be different, but it sure is, Rod, exciting to know that there's going to be a fall sports schedule here at UA, not just for football.
Yeah, Yeah, certainly. And again, you know those athletes, Gary, those coaches and those other programs have certainly prepared, worked very hard for the opportunity, so you know they're excited.
Absolutely. All right, thanks for those phone calls and emails. We always enjoy hearing from Tider Insider Nation. Well, still to come, former Alabama star Eddie Jackson is using his NFL platform for good. We'll explain coming up next. And former Crimson Tide safety and current Chicago Bear Eddie Jackson, as we said, also made a donation. That's coming up next here on TI TV. Keep it tuned in. We'll be back after this. Well, former Crimson Tide safety and current Chicago Bear Eddie Jackson made a donation covering funeral costs for 8-year-old DeJour Wilson. Wilson was shot and killed on Labor Day. The $7,500 donation will be used to purchase a glass casket for Wilson. The Chicago Bears also recently announced their support for players' involvement in social justice issues and will match donations made to related causes. Jackson recently signed a 4-year contract extension with the Bears, and he is one of the best safeties in the National Football League and obviously also has a big heart as well. Well, Ronnie, you look around the league in this first week, and you know, we're going to see it when we close here in a second, but 57 former Alabama players on NFL rosters, and that's with several opting out due to coronavirus, or it'd be over 60.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. How about Josh Jacobs, too, Gary? A 3-star recruit, 3 touchdowns. I mean, just goes to show you the talent that has been developed here at Alabama. Hasn't all been 5 stars.
That's right. Yeah, they're everywhere in the NFL. Well, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can catch a replay at 10:30 this evening following the news at 10 and online anytime at WVUA23.com. And we'll leave you with some of the highlights from Alabama football alums in the National Football League from Week 1. Thanks for watching TI TV. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Good night, everybody.